Sonny. Sonny gets married and moves away. Sonny has a baby and bills to pay. Sonny gets sunnier day by day by day by day.
Paul Simon is famous, which is a good thing, because otherwise it could be confusing, because he has two first names and no last name, or that's how it seems. So how do you know whether it's Paul Simon or Simon Paul? And Simon Paul was the name of a flatmate I once had. So that could be confusing, except for the fact that Paul Simon is famous, and so it's not confusing anymore. He is famous for being immensely talented. He is also famous for being from Jewish parents and for being quite short and for coming from New York. That's quite a few things to be famous for, but it's the talent is the thing that he's most famous for. He and his school friend Art Garfunkel, which is a great name, got together in their early teens to sing and play together. That was around 1956, and they were on and off for a while, not playing together, until they recorded The Sound of Silence, which was a huge hit, and from then on they had quite a solid career. They produced 5 albums, but in 1970 they split. Quite amicably, it would seem, and they went in their own directions. And Art Garfunkel started to sing songs about rabbits, and Paul Simon sang all sorts of songs, had a huge solo career. Quite a lot of albums. He's still producing them occasionally, but the highlight of his solo career was an album called Graceland, which you might have heard of, which was released in 1986. Hi, my name's Dan, and I'm not a fish, so please don't turn me into sushi. And you can tell from comments like that my sense of humour's come out to play today. I'll try and keep it in check whilst I do a semi-serious review. What else do I need to say? Oh, this point in the video, I traditionally talk about comments. If you want to put any comments down in the box down there, I'd love to hear what you think of this album, either if you're new to it or if you've known it of old. I don't care. I'd love to hear your reaction, read your reaction. So just to frame what I'm doing here, I am attempting to do 3,000 album reviews. That's a huge undertaking. I have no idea if I will ever get to the end. But I've started from this list. I've started from the bottom and I'm working my way upwards. And it's been an amazing journey. I'm at 2,900 and something. I'm still in the first 100. So it's a good time for you to jump on board. And the way to do that is to click on the button down here that says subscribe. When you click on that button, there should be a bell that appears next to it, this side. And if you click on all, if you click on the bell and then click on all, you will get notifications every time I produce one of these albums. You are likely to get completely sick of them after a while, so the subscribe button turns into an unsubscribe button. That might be the way that you need to go after a bit. Now, seriously, this is a great way to get to know something about these albums. My intention is that these reviews are gonna include some opinion and some information and some background knowledge on what's going on, to the best of my abilities, and quite short. And short is not going to be easy to do if I keep rambling on like this. Right, let's get into this album. So this was the 8th solo album by Paul Simon, and just to put it in context, this was 4 years after Graceland, and it was the next album after Graceland. Now, I'm mentioning Graceland, and I'll probably mention it a few times because it is quite significant. It was a hugely successful album, and it has some similarities to this album. And as a result, this album is often compared to Graceland, and it doesn't necessarily always compare favourably to it. We'll see as we get into it. I'm going to put my cards on the table here. I know this album. I know it quite well. I've had a copy since it first came out. I bought it on CD, and I have played it several times over the years. I wouldn't say I'm hugely familiar with it. not in the same way as I am with Graceland, because I've played that many, many, many times. Okay, let's do some descriptions. So it's similar to Graceland. It's basically world music with songs layered over it. That's a very simplistic description, because it's more complex than that. There's a lot of recording going on, but essentially, if you think of it like that, that will give you kind of hopefully a good impression. The big focus here is on Brazilian music, particularly Brazilian percussion and Brazilian drumming. Okay, but there's also stuff here from there's African stuff, and the vocal band Ladysmith Black Mambazo have appear in one of the tracks. There's some Cajun style stuff here, and the son of Clifton Chenier, so this is CJ Chenier, also appears on here. There's JJ Cale, who's a blues musician, appears on here, and bizarrely Adrian Bellew, who is a guitarist but normally features in progressive rock, also makes an appearance on this album. A list of people involved, most of whose names I don't know, is huge, and lots of them are percussionists. The words there, typical Paul Simon cryptic lyrics, possibly more cryptic than normal at times. He has a tendency to produce this stuff that is very poetic, and I do like his songwriting style, even though you can't always work out what he's actually talking about. And as normal, as he sings, his voice is quite an understated voice, so he kind of ambles through this whole thing. In the main, I would say that actually the album is quite deftly handled. There's a lot of stuff going on, and to be able to get all that working together in a listening experience is quite a trick. It's interesting. There are times, I think, where I would say that the song is a bit kind of swamped by the percussion. Particularly the first track, which was the single, which is The Obvious Child. The kind of introduction to that is there's just loads of this percussion, and the percussion is good, and the song's quite good, but they don't quite gel as well as you might hope. It's not as upbeat as Graceland, so yeah, I'm going to keep doing comparisons to Graceland. So it's not got the same kind of hit-making feel that Graceland had, but it's, in the most part, as I said, I've used the word deft. I think it's measured. It's a bit more thoughtful in some ways, maybe. But then again, at times I feel like it's slightly awkward. So it's not quite so clear about what it's trying to do. And there's a little bit of a feeling that Graceland was such a huge hit as an album that he's trying to recreate that, but do something slightly different with it. And that may well be what was going on. And it wasn't quite the success, both musically and commercially, I think, that Graceland was. However, saying all that, this is still Paul Simon. It's still great world music, which has been blended with some good pop stuff. He knows how to handle himself around the studio. He knows how to handle himself around some songwriting, and so it's a pretty good album, and I do enjoy it. And I think probably I might actually score it higher if I wasn't always in my head comparing it to Graceland. That's it from me for now.